Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to talk true crime and Idaho 4. So, I've been watching a few videos, and some of them are a few months old. Wait, let me turn that up so there's no echo. Sorry about that. Yeah, and so I think we can all agree that there's something wrong with the timeline of Idaho 4. There's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of things that don't make sense, that don't add up. And one of those things is the timeline. Law enforcement would have us believe that the crimes happened around 4 o'clock, shortly after 4, based on the video of a car caught on a security camera. They say that this car is Brian Koberger's car. It may or may not have been. We have no proof of whether or not it was. But they base the whole timeline on that. But there's a lot of other evidence around that just doesn't make sense to that timeline. Not to mention the injuries. I guess I shouldn't be smiling. They're not very gruesome, the injuries, but there's no way that I believe one person could have inflicted all of the injuries on the 4 victims, Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee, in like 7 minutes or less. So that leaves us with, well, when did it happen? It happened around 3:30. It happened around 2:30. Well, I want to share with you guys some information that I just came across a few days ago, that perhaps they happened around 1:15. At least Xana and Ethan around 1:15. And so maybe they were already gone by the time Maddie and Kaylee got home, because they got home around 2. And we know that from the grub truck and the Uber driver, Eric Gower, I believe, that gave them the ride home. Okay, so we know they got home around 2, maybe 2:13, maybe 2:03. I don't know, around 2. Which means they would have been entering a house that was already a crime scene if Xana and Ethan had been attacked at 1:15. Where is that coming from? Well, if you've been following this case at all over the last couple of years, there is what's known as the Linda Lane footage. And that's a couple of different cameras, security cameras. And so many people have gone over them with a fine-tooth comb. And I had watched a couple of videos back when it was just getting started, that this footage had just come out. And I was just like, I wasn't interested. Okay, I wasn't interested. Following this car and that car, and was there this sound or that sound, and so anytime I saw something that had been titled Linda Lane, I just didn't click on it. And now I did. And it's very, very, very compelling. Okay, so I'm going to share clips of 2 videos. They are linked in my description. So if you want to watch the whole video, then you're welcome to. And I encourage you to go and see for yourself these content creators, their work. Give them a thumbs up if you like it. I'm not 100%, but it's like worth considering. Okay. So Let's share the first one. The first one, this is Linda Lane footage. You can see here it is by a content creator called Nicole Casey. She's got 2,000 subscribers, so good for her. And I had made a comment as well with this video. She replied, so she's very active. Now, in her video, she plays the sound without any like subtitles of what she thinks she hears. I agree with some of it. I'm not sure about others, but I'm gonna play a few minutes here, and we can listen to what happened at 1:15. What this camera picked up at 1:15. I'm going to assume that this footage is not manipulated, at least I mean, maybe she did some, reducing the background noise or something like that, but as not anything like overlaid and added, like these voices weren't on the original and then just added on. I'm going to guess that these voices are on the original. I will tell you that as I was listening to this, I was like, okay, some screams that would be at the top of their lungs would be picked up by this camera. But anything that's like whimpering or speaking, this camera is too far away. So if you let me orientate you. We all know where their house was, and there's like a little hill going up the side to a parking area, and that little hill is right along. There are two buildings alongside that little hill. That then the parking is behind the top building, and then there's another building, and at the end of those two buildings, there's a third building, which is where this camera is. So over here is the lower of those two long buildings. Okay, the other building would be up here, equal with this parking lot. There's another long building, this long building, and then the house. Okay, so could sound carry? Yes. They said screams or shouts and yells would carry, but speaking, I don't think that would reach here. So I'm like, well, then how are these voices being picked up? And I thought, it almost sounds, at least at one point, not the whole thing, but at one point, it's kind of sounded like a police walkie-talkie or something. And I thought, well, what if it's a phone, or what if the room of the apartment where this camera is has their window might not be open, but maybe it's thin enough, or there's a computer there that this is playing. What if there was a live stream of this horrific incident taking place, and the person, somebody near this camera, is watching it, and that's why we can hear the voices. This is my thought. So I'm going to play it for you, and let's make sure, okay, the volume's up on my computer, and you can let me know what you think. Do you hear what she writes with her words? Do you hear something different? Do you think it's possible that this is being picked up from the house itself? Do you think that there could be somebody near the camera that it's watching it? What do you think?
So the part that screams Xana, I'm pretty sure is Ethan. And the part that screams Ethan twice, I'm pretty sure is Xana. And I'm also positive.
I'm skipping over this part because I want you to go see her video to see the whole thing. It's actually 16 minutes long. I'm only going to show you a couple more minutes, maybe to about 118, 119. And then we'll move on. Okay, I do want to pause here and mention, for context, obviously that was like starting with West Virginia, Mountain Mama, Take Me Home, Country Roads. Ethan was known to sing Country Roads, Take Me Home, Country Roads, at karaoke and things like this. It was known to be his favorite song. So with that context, the fact that there's clearly a group of people singing that, it could be connected to Ethan, to taunting Ethan.
So in between the actual text that I put up on the screen, and a lot of them right near.
Okay, so, hey Shalay, no problem, no problem. I don't know, have you heard this? Did you hear what I just, at least the part of what I just played? Go ahead and put that down. Yeah, and if you go to the link and you watch, I believe it's Nicole Casey's video, you can. She's got a lot more. She's got a lot of commentary about this. Only the end. So at the beginning of where I started, because there's a lot, the Adam, the David, and all this. I'm not sure that I hear those names, but closer to the beginning, you never heard it before? Yeah. I don't want to play it again here for like replay, but you can definitely go back and watch it. But I think the most significant thing is that it is very clear that Ethan and Xana, as if Ethan and Xana are calling out to each other, that's pretty clear. That's pretty clear. The fact that there's a lot of people, there is something going on. There's no single perpetrator. Now, it's possible that maybe this is some kind of, the Fight Club thing. We hear about a Fight Club. Is this a fight that is happening independent of their final assault? And this is 115 to 118. It continues. There's also some grub truck video that I'm going to show you that's before Maddie and Kaylee arrive. And because as I mentioned before I played the Linda Lane, it didn't really sound, well, a lot of the speaking parts, I don't believe would be picked up from the house. So that leaves me to believe that these voices that you hear are either closer in the parking lot, like they're being attacked there in the parking lot, or in somebody else's house nearby, right? But they're closer to the camera, or this is being live streamed and there's somebody that is close to the camera watching it. So what we're hearing is what is coming over the live stream, which is absolutely disgusting, and which would also be why no one would be talking, because if they were watching this on a live stream, they would probably think, what the police, they could get in trouble for not calling 911 as a crime is being committed. So yeah, I wouldn't speak up and tell the truth. I'm not. I would have called 911 right away if I was anywhere near somebody with this. Okay, it is rumored. I have not seen documents, but it's rumored that this was Venmo. Okay, I don't know if you can actually live stream on Venmo or you just pay for the live stream through Venmo, but that they were charging $6.66. Somebody, whoever was live streaming it, if it was being live streamed. So where that came from, who said that, I don't know. If you know, please tell me in the chat or in the comments exactly what receipts there are for the Venmo for $6.66. And I don't have Venmo. I don't know if it's only a payment app or if you can live stream on Venmo as well. I don't know. You need to get down, baby. I need to scoot up. Okay. So the next thing, and it's unbelievable, and I'm not sure of the timestamps on this because Maddie and Kaylee are supposed to be arriving at the grub truck around 1:40, and then they wait 10 minutes or so for their food, and then at 1:58 they get picked up by Eric and then dropped off at 2:13 at their house or thereabouts, something like this, okay, around the 2 o'clock hour. And what we're going to see on the grub truck, I'm starting it from the point where two people get, there's like text messages or something. I'm thinking it's some kind of alert about the live stream, and maybe some people ignore it. You know, I'm not paying $6.66 for something, and they just continue with their conversation. But somebody else is watching it. And you hear people screaming out Xana's name. But the timing, so were they originally attacked at 1:15 and then it continued? What about, and because I don't see Maddie and Kaylee yet. The guy with the big tan colored jacket, the big guy with the tan jacket, he's there. Some of the people are there who are there when Maddie and Kaylee arrive. I watched footage going back to see, you know, is anybody like at 1:15? Is there anybody looking at their phone at 1:15? You know, and it was hard to distinguish. But then there's this moment that you'll see where the crowd's kind of just everywhere. And then, except for the tan jacket guy and the people he's with, everybody congregates together. And then they start screaming and saying, "Oh no, Xana," or something like that. Okay? So, let's watch it. It takes a few minutes from the time the text message comes in until everyone moves over. But you'll be able to see that happen. And like I said, I'm not sure about the time. Now they're trying to match it up with the Linda Lane footage. So like there's screams on the Linda Lane footage. They're saying at 1:56, and then you can also see the reactions of people at the grub truck. But now you heard everybody going, "No, no," almost as if they are watching a fight somewhere. And then these guys, this is going to disappear in just a second. But I wanted you to see these two getting their text message and looking at their phone, but then they put it away. But this group back here, and you can see, look, and also here's these four people are standing right here. There's a lot of people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 people standing right here. And then there's like 2 or 3 people standing back here. These people are all going to move, either they're going to walk away or they're going to move over with this group. And then there's going to be no one left standing here except for these 4. And I think that's around the time this is going to disappear. So the guy with the shorts just walked over there. This guy with white, black and white walked over there. There's only a couple people left there. So it looks like that little group is going to actually leave. But look at how many people now are all standing around over here. And there's a lot of ruckus going on. By the way, what's coming up is there's going to be like a little animation when somebody donates money to the grub truck. Then this little animation comes up automatically. I guess this is Twitch. They said, I think I've heard that it's a Twitch feed. So the little animation comes up, and that's right around the time that you're going to hear them scream Xana's name, I believe. And then that'll disappear, and then the guy is going to say something about, wow, thank you for the $40. Just so you're not like, what the heck is that? Are they trying to cover something up? No, it's just part of the Twitch feed. Just so you're prepared for it. I'm not sure why the sound stopped here. Does it? Okay. Oh, we're just seeing your hair moving in the breeze. I'm not sharing anything. Oops. Sorry. Let me go back. What?
I think that should do it.
Okay. 2 chicken burritos, 2 barbecue chickens, 1 Chipotle.
want to check if Maddie and Kaylee had been there and then already picked up. So I don't think so. I think I watched this. See, okay, there's 111. Oh no. Baby. So that's why I'm thinking that this would be just before they got there. Unless this whole thing is after they got picked up. Okay, so this is where they got the text. All right. And this is where I was saying you got these people that are standing around, but they're all going to move. See, now they're disappearing and everybody's coming over here. Finally, I know. So I'll play it again from here. Remember I told you there's a part that's black, that the sound goes out in this video? I wonder if that is when they're all screaming Xana. And it was in a different video. Maybe. I thought it was in this video, which is why I'm sharing it with you. Let me go. Oops, not YouTube. Let me go to my history. What I was watching yesterday. Saturday. Maybe it was on Saturday. So it might have been this one.
Any other?
52. 51, 52.
Order 85.
You can even do 153, and they'll still get to the home run 156. For I'm using right now, I prefer those. Just dropped off. So if she was home, she should have known that he was there, dropped him off, and could have came out. Maybe wasn't paying attention, but she sounded like in the affidavit that she... I want to say this guy is as well. Don't quote me on it.
So I'm basically looking for the same one.
Embo Lang, hello truckers. Hello.
Which is 134.
Oh, let's go.
I think that they're at 130. There's Let me go back to history. Oh, that's the one that I shared with you guys. All right. So let me just say, I went through a lot. and they are screaming Xana's name. So are they watching Xana die? You know, I mean, it's horrifying, and it adds a whole new layer to everything. If this is the timeline, if Xana and Ethan were attacked at 1:15, whether outside the house or inside the house and live streamed, if it all started then, I mean, where does that put Dylan and Bethany and everything that they've ever said? You know, it's just disgusting. And it's possible that's where like the 400 witnesses comes from, because maybe there were 400 people that paid for that Venmo. I mean, I gotta think that Ann Taylor got, you know, knew about this and got records about it. And they, you know, they're still going through, the courts are still going through what they're going to release, and then some things they're going to decide not to release. What if a Venmo live stream for $6.66 is one of the things that will be released in the future, or that they'll never release to us? So and then did somebody take Murphy at that point to someplace else, whether to Jack's house or some, and so then I was thinking also with Jack, to be clear which Jack I'm thinking about. When he walks up the next day, he's very calm, and he listens to Dylan, and he goes and he talks to the police. Then he sits in the police officer's car to stay warm while he's waiting. And it's kind of like he's there to get Murphy. I mean, and I think he might ask a question, well, like, what about Kaylee or something? And the police officer, of course, isn't saying anything to anybody about what they found at that point in the body cam footage that we see. But he's just so calm. And would he be more upset? I don't know. He's the ex-boyfriend. Maybe he doesn't care. But it kind of seems like he might get a little bit frantic, a little bit agitated, like, well, what's going on? Is Kaylee all right? You know? And we don't see any of that from his behavior. So I don't know, that just seems like a little bit off as well. But then, so it adds a whole new layer of Dylan and Bethany lying, because quite frankly, I've kind of been of the opinion that maybe they helped set things out with inviting, you know, making sure that Kaylee came that weekend and would be there. Very, very strange indeed, just as a human being. Yeah, his behavior. So I figured maybe they knew something was going to go down, but they didn't think it was going to go down as bad as it did. And they weren't in the house when anything was happening. But now that I hear this, and I hear the number of people that could have been involved, then it remember the scales, you know, kind of thing. It weighs heavier now towards Dylan actually being more like a Manson girl. And I should go and see if there's any like old footage or something of when the Manson clan was first arrested. What was their behavior like? You know, I wonder if there's any footage of that. I don't know if there is, but it now, if this is correct, this 115 is correct, and then if she was there participating, and then all act, and then that means everything that she says is just acting and not just covering for somebody else, but for covering for herself. We need more information. We can't make any definitive judgments. We need more information, but this is damning. This is really damning. And it's been out there. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. Because, I mean, is it because they've already talked about it once and then they just aren't talking about it again? But it seems like for me, now, anytime I think of the Idaho 4, I can't say anything about 4 o'clock or 3:30 or 3 o'clock without qualifying. Well, don't forget, it could have been at 1:15, and it could have been Xana and Ethan. And what does that mean about Maddie and Kaylee? Because if they were if Xana and Ethan were already attacked and out in their room, and then Kaylee and Maddie get dropped off and they walk in the door and they start going up those stairs, there's already going to be smell. I know that from what happened in my house. There's already going to be smell. They're going to know something's off. Would someone have been downstairs? Maybe not necessarily in Bethany's room, but near Bethany's door, so that as soon as they came in and started going up the stairs, they came out around so that they couldn't go back out. When Dylan does talk about Kaylee running up and down stairs, could it have been those stairs? Because I could imagine as soon as you get up onto the second floor, where Ethan and Xana's bedroom is, and you get any kind of idea of the magnitude of what's wrong, that you would turn around and start running to go back outside. So are those the stairs that Dylan was? I mean, because the thing about liars is you put grains of truth, but then, maybe she's describing something that happened, but not accurately, or not the right time that it happened. So yeah, it happened, but not the right time that it happened. Or it happened on the stairs, but letting everybody think it's the stairs to her bed. She went up to bed and then came running down the stairs, when really it was she came in the house, went up the stairs, and then tried to run back down the stairs, those stairs. You mix up grains of truth with your lies. Could it be something like that? And then there's always, I think a lot of people have this sense that maybe Bethany wasn't as involved as Dylan. But if they're both texting each other at 4 o'clock in the morning to set an alibi, or to throw off the police from what really happened, in whatever way their brain is thinking like that. So it's like, okay, well, this is the story. And so let's wait until everything's cleaned up. Okay. and then they start texting each other and calling Kaylee and Matt. Okay, let's act it out as if it's really happening. We'll call people, we'll send text messages. Is then that what has happened? I mean, if the 115 is correct, because if it's correct, then as soon as Maddie and Kaylee walked in that door, they would have had to have been ambushed. They would have never made it up to their room. I mean, they were so drunk. I mean, Maddie was walking, was staggering, was pretty drunk. Were they carried up to their room? I don't know. I don't know. Does it even matter? We're spending so much of our time in our life because we want the truth. We just want the truth. But maybe we're never going to get it. I don't know. Maybe that's one of the reasons why the true crime community is hanging on to this case so much, because they want justice. And it doesn't feel like Brian Koberger alone is justice. All right. Was he involved? Maybe. But if he was, it wasn't at 4 o'clock. So he wasn't alone, and it wasn't at 4 o'clock. And there were a lot of other people, I think, involved. Robert over at True Crime Unleashed came across somebody that was kind of more like, I don't think he calls himself a psychic, but just like some kind of like gets visions or something, and described that it was maybe 2 people. So there's lots. So I think the true crime community is just trying to find the truth and trying to get justice for these 4 young people, Xana, Ethan, Maddie, and Kaylee. If nobody else is going to do it, they just don't want to let it go until the truth comes out. So anyway, that's kind of all I really wanted to talk about. There's also, with the timeline, I'll just mention Lana over at Truth and Transparency was doing a lot of work with the bells. She contacted the guy that is with the church that has the bell that rings, that the bells ring, and got so much technical information and everything from him. And because whether it's police body cams or security cameras or this or that, you hear the bells, and is it ringing 2 times? Is it ringing 3? Now on the hour, there's supposed to be this musical chime, dee, 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 whatever, and then the dongs, dong, 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 and then on the half hour, you just get 1 dong on each half hour. And so it's like, oh, well, it's supposed to be 4 o'clock, but there's only 3 dongs, or this or that, and trying to match up the dongs. And I mean, and she spends hours just on the dongs. And then I came across another guy that did amazing work with the dog barks. And over 40 minutes, I think the 4 o'clock-ish, 4 to 4:30, 4:45, something like that. And the dog, okay, there's 1 bark, there's 2 barks, there's, you're like, woof, 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 woof. There's 4 barks, and then he's like, there's clusters, and there's this much time in between the 2 barks and the one bark, there's 2 seconds or whatever, and he just plotted it all out with dog barks, long duck dong. Yeah, Chalet, we just need answers. And as the public, we deserve answers because we need to know if they're in their 20s, are they part of Gen Z? If they're capable, if it's a group of college students that did this for whatever motivation, whether it was jealousy, some kind of rage, whatever reason that they had that they felt they needed to do this and that they could get away with it. What else are they doing and what else are they capable of? Would this be a one-off or would this be part of their nature? And don't forget there was the other fraternity guy that died previously, that it was ruled that he did it to himself by drowning in a creek. And Ethan was very close to that guy. So I think Ethan knew something was up with that guy's death. So was he going to tell? Or they need to shut Ethan up because of that? Was it because he was talking about steroids, because he saw a guy kissing a guy, and that guy, and then some other guy's jealous that Ethan's with Xana because he wanted Xana, Then I was listening today or yesterday that Maddie and Kaylee were actually going to go to another bar after they left Corner Club. Now, with the state that Maddie was in, I don't know why they would want to go to another bar, but the John's Alley or whatever, they were going to go from Corner Club to there. But they went to the grub truck, and then from the grub truck, they decided to go home. Is there a message of somebody asking them to come home? Donna in the house. Hudson Lindo. Yes. Oh, that's the gentleman who died, the other fraternity brother who died in the creek, from the same Sigma Chi house. And thank you for that, Donna. So if they were going to go out, were they supposed to stay out? So if 115 to 158 or thereabouts, then you've got Ethan and Xana assaulted. And then they've got, obviously there was some kind of cleanup. I don't think anybody disputes that. At least anybody who has questions, I don't think they dispute that some kind of cleanup happened. Then if Maddie and Kaylee had stayed out and the cleanup had happened, was the original plan that they would come home and discover, maybe Dylan and Bethany thought originally that they could stay in their bedrooms and pretend like they were asleep until Maddie and Kaylee came home and they discovered what happened. But instead they came home early, so they had to do something with them too. But then if that was the case, then it X's out the fact that Dylan called Kaylee and insisted that she come that weekend. Donna says he was actually partying at 1122 the night of his death. I didn't realize that, Donna. Yeah. So Donna, tell me, you obviously have been following this for a while. What I started with before you were here was the 115 screaming and Ethan, Xana stuff that was on the Linda Lane footage, because I had kind of ignored all of that not because of the voices, but because they're just talking. They're talking about cars coming and going and this and that. I mean, it was just boring to me at the time. And so I never actually heard all of that, but it's been out there. I know it's been out there for a while. So that's what I played some of. In your opinion, you believe it was the street fight between David and Ethan. See, that's one of the things I mentioned, that from the camera, where the camera is located, if there was a blood curdling from the top of your lungs scream at 1122, it would pick that up. There would be enough echo and things carrying that would be heard. But the speaking, there's a lot of speaking that I don't think that could be picked up. So either all of this was happening closer to that camera, like in that back parking lot or something, or it was being live streamed and somebody close to the camera was watching it on live stream and it was picking up all the voices and everything from that. You can get carried out from the fraternity at Sigma Chi. That is very close, and it's kind of interesting that for anyone who doesn't know, Sigma Chi is like up here on a hill, and then it kind of goes down, and then 1122, is also like on a hill going the opposite direction. So that's very interesting. I could, but again, I could see the screaming and the fighting, but not like spoken words. It's like a fishbowl down there and like an amphitheater. So it definitely would. Okay, so that's a possibility. That would be interesting I mean, if I was like an actual investigator there, I would definitely test that. I would go over to Sigma Chi and like be speaking and see if it gets picked up on the camera. And I think Maddie and Kaylee both got grabbed outside when they were walking Murphy or looking for Murphy. Yeah, that's possible. But so tell me, if there was a fight, you're saying at Sigma Chi, do you think that they were actually killed there and brought back to the house? Or do you think that they were still alive? It was just a fist fight that then they got taken over to 1122 and finished the job there. And if so, if that all happened in that 1:15 to 2 o'clock before Kaylee and Maddie got home, you don't believe any of them were killed inside the house? You think it all happened outside the house? Okay. Well, that would be an option. Instead of cleaning up the house, they didn't have to clean up the house because they did. And then actually, what would kind of make sense toward that, if they still have the weapon in hand, they get some fluids on it and just shake it around so that there's a little bit of cast off, because they know that the police are going to expect cast off. But of course, it's nowhere near the amount of cast off needed for the injuries. And also, that's why there's some blood, but not enough blood. I gotta say, it would make sense. There was an altercation at Sigma Chi. Xana and Ethan left to walk home and followed and fight pursuit in the street. Yeah, I was wondering about that little walkway, like in the body cam footage where all the people are huddled with the blankets and things, that they're standing right at the top of that little walkway. So I was wondering if Xana and Ethan would have been walking through there, and that would be a perfect place to attack them. And that would also, the sound would carry. You can hear the power washers going. Wow. Do you know what time? What time does that happen? That's interesting. So would they be power washing the street? I wonder. Because I mean, some people would think, oh, they're power washing inside the house, but maybe they're power washing outside. But yeah, 100% lack of blood. I kind of have a hard time imagining that the amount of injuries that happened caused by a knife would have been that they would have done that part of an attack outside. I do kind of, I have a hard time imagining that like nobody would see that kind of attack happening. Obviously, maybe some people did see and aren't saying anything. So, but I think it could be like half inside, half outside. I don't know. But I certainly respect your opinion, Donna. So around 4 a.m. is the power washers. Wow. See, I mean, if why can't law enforcement do the kind of investigating that we dig into? Why can't they dig just as hard so that they can find the truth? You know, are they that beholden to the university? Are they that beholden to cartels? Are they that beholden? Are they that incompetent? You know, they have so many more resources available, technology, the ability to get warrants for Venmo. Was there a live stream that was $6.66, and who paid it, and who watched it, and who participated? For example, I don't know if that happened or not, but if it did, right? They have the ability to get warrants to get these things. They have the ability to search locations and geolocations and geofencing and not just phone pings off a tower. Well, why aren't they digging? And why didn't they dig? What stopped them from the truth? Because we all know that their story's not the truth. You listen to Linda, they're singing, yes, I did show that at the beginning. That's part that I showed. The thing is, Greek row, there's always screaming and hollering and partying, so it could have been just dismissed. And Chalet says, where's the blood? Donna says, the only thing that stumps me about this whole case is why there isn't bloody footprints all around the house where the killer was walking. Exactly. I completely 100% agree. I've talked about that in other videos, that you should be able to know exactly who was killed first, second, or at least which rooms. You know, did you go upstairs and kill upstairs first, or do you go downstairs and kill downstairs first? And then, because there would be footsteps going to the second room, and there isn't any. And there's no way, especially, this is what I'm saying, the law enforcement story does not hold up in the time frame that they're saying, the 7 minutes that would be available to be actually in the house. Number one, the injuries don't fit, but then the crime scene doesn't fit either. Because if he had a PPE, some even just layers of clothing, of hoodie or whatever, the time it would take to take it off to go to the next room, and then he'd have to take off another layer when he leaves there. You know, and I, had been thinking if he was up there with Maddie, and Kaylee went into the room, and then he chased Kaylee out, and she started to go down the stairs or whatever, then he would be dripping. He didn't take off any PPE. And that didn't make sense to me at all. Make sure I didn't miss anything else. They did know who the real killers are, and they're protecting the college. Without that college, the whole town would go under. It's the main source of income. Yeah. Oh, you have to run. Okay, Donna, thank you. Thank you for joining. I appreciate. Share it maybe with some other people. Yeah, I welcome different opinions, for sure. So yeah, protecting the college. I think the college is a big part of it. I mean, always whenever there was a press conference, is it Scott Green, I believe, is the president of the university, was always right there with all the law enforcement at every press conference. I think it's definitely a factor. I mean, I think if you look at, I mean, I've seen videos went way back about Sigma Chi nationally, and the amount of crimes that happen, sometimes with hazing, but it might not be related to hazing. It could be a crime like this, and Sigma Chi as an organization wants to protect their reputation, and has a lot of pressure that they can bring to bear as well. Not just the university, but the national organization of Sigma Chi, of which a lot of the police officers are part of either Sigma Chi or the university. And then if it's all that, does the possibility of drugs being involved have any? Maybe that's why they kept saying, oh, no, there's nothing about drugs here. Maybe because it was all fraternity, I can't say 100% what happened, but I can say 100% it's not one single perpetrator in 7 minutes around 4 a.m. What is the truth? I think the true crime community is going to keep digging and digging and digging until there is so much evidence that something different happened that it's going to have to come out. I hope so. I hope so. I hope so for justice, so that they can have peace and we can all have peace. It's certainly a tragedy. Hey, Robert, good to see you. I'm just kind of wrapping up. Unless there's a particular issue you might. Well, let me ask you, Robert, because you've been digging with a lot more. Because there were times where I just took a break from Idaho 4, and one of the things I never really paid much attention to, I had mentioned, is the Linda Lane footage, because back when it was first starting, it was really kind of boring, and I was just like, I don't need to waste my life listening to all this. But now I've come across the 115 screams and Ethan and Xana and everything. So what do you think about the 115? Because I know you and I both think it wasn't 4 o'clock. And we were thinking 2, 3. What do you think happened at 115? Do you want to come up and speak instead of typing? Should be able to put a link in there. Add a guest. Copy the link. Because I'd be interested to know what you think. Oh, you just woke up? So you don't want to be seen. It's okay. It's okay. Well, maybe later you can watch my beginning and what I was talking about, with the particular Linda Lane footage and the grub truck footage of people that were screaming at what they were watching on a phone, which then lends me to think, is it possible that this was being live streamed? I know that's always been kind of a thought, but I didn't have anything that I could actually see. So seeing that part of the grub truck, but I'm not sure about the timing on it, but seeing the grub truck and then with the Linda Lane at 1:15, it also sounded to me like maybe someone was watching it near the camera, not actually the sound coming like from the house. Then we had Donna say she thought the sounds were coming from the Sigma Chi house as like an amphitheater and it would be picked up. What's wrong with your mic? Sounds like I'm in a tin can. Is that better? It wasn't really faced right to me. Because I also have my fan on and I don't want it to... I have my mic faced away from the fan so that I can have the fan on me, but it won't. But the fan's not on the mic. It's been that way, but not bad. Okay, it's probably is it better now because I've adjusted the position of the mic. But yeah, 1:15. Gosh darn, it started that early, and it started with Ethan and Xana. I mean, it puts a whole new spin on the way I look at everything else, because I have to judge it by, is it possible that it happened this way? And if it did happen this way, then that would mean this or this or this with all this other stuff. Like, for example, what Dylan says, if this happened, then that's a whole new light on what Dylan has said, what Bethany has said, and so on. And we just have to weigh all the evidence to see what makes the most sense. At some point there's got to be something that clicks, because right now there's just too many possibilities because we don't have enough information to narrow it down to this possibility or that possibility. Anyway, I'm glad you showed up, but I'm kind of ready to go to bed. It's just after 10 p.m. for me here in Cambodia. I know you guys are all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for the day. But something to think about. Something to think about what I've raised here tonight. And please leave me some comments of your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have a different idea? I watched your video on Jose Cruz, and that you just put up a few hours ago, and so it was like body count footage, like a year previously, and he's living under, sorority girls are living upstairs from him, but I didn't hear the connection, like where is he coming up in the Idaho 4 case? Was he one of these Uber drivers or Lyft drivers? Was he at the grub truck? Was he had he moved from the other place and now he lives over near that house? I didn't hear exactly how he's involved, how his name came up in Idaho 4. What the relationship is. Maybe you can expand upon that on your next video so that the connection is clear. Because I had not heard of him before your video. By the way, everybody, True Crime Unleashed and Chalet are both in my description. If you want to go check out their channels. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna end it for tonight. And even though we are talking about tragedy, just remember that love transcends time and space. So wherever and whenever you're watching this, I love you. He was running around Pullman with a knife and a ski mask. Ah, yeah. So why weren't they looking at him as a suspect if he's got that propensity? Yeah, Shalay, catch you later. Everybody in the U.S. have a great day, and I'll have a good evening. And tomorrow night we're going to play games, music games, so that we can just have fun and take a break from everything just for an hour. Have a break, join me and have fun. So until the next time, I'll catch you later.